Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at something, well, truly momentous, the election of the new pope. And what really makes this stand out is he's the first pope ever from the United States.
That's right. We've been digging through the CBS News coverage, looking at the conclave, the whole process, and the selection of Cardinal Robert Prevost. He's now Pope Leo XIV.
Wow.
And it's a big deal, potentially far beyond just the Vatican itself.
Yeah, historic barely covers it, does it? An American pope. It just raises so many questions.
It really does.
So our mission here is to unpack how this happened, get a sense of who Pope Leo XIV is and, why this matters.
Exactly.
Let's start with the process itself, the papal conclave. What actually goes on in there?
Okay, so the conclave, it's basically the meeting where cardinal electors, that means cardinals under 80 years old, get together. Their one job, elect the new pope.
And when did this latest one kick off?
It started May 7th, 2025. That was following Pope Francis's death back on April 21st.
Right. And how many cardinals are we talking about?
This time, there were 133 cardinal electors involved.
That's a lot of voices.
It is. And what's really interesting, I think, is that a huge majority, 108 of them, were actually appointed by Pope Francis.
Oh, wow. So that suggests maybe some continuity.
You'd think so, potentially. But electing an American, well, that definitely introduces a new element, doesn't it? It kind of shakes things up a bit, perhaps. These cardinals came from 71 different countries. 10 of them were from the U.S.
10 from the U.S. That feels like a significant number.
It is. Now, about what goes on inside. People always talk about the secrecy.
Yeah, is it really that locked down?
Oh, absolutely. It's crucial to the whole thing. Everyone involved, not just the cardinals, but all the support staff, too, they take a very serious oath of secrecy.
Like legally binding.
Even more so, really. Breaking that oath can actually lead to excommunication. They're completely cut off from the outside world until it's done.
Okay, so total lockdown.
Yeah.
How do they physically vote then?
It's quite formal. Each cardinal writes their choice on a ballot paper, and they even try to disguise their handwriting.
Ah, okay.
Then they go up to the altar in the Sistine Chapel, put the folded ballot on this little plate, a paten, and slide it into a big chalice-like urn.
And someone counts them.
Yep. 3 cardinals, called scrutineers, are picked by lot. They count the votes and record the names.
Then comes the famous smoke.
Right. Exactly. After each voting round, the ballots get burned in a stove right there in the chapel, if no one gets the required majority.
Which is?
2/3 plus 1 vote. So if no one gets that, they add a chemical, and you get black smoke. Fumata nera tells everyone outside, nope, not yet.
And the white smoke.
That's when someone has been elected. They burn the ballots without the additive, and poof, white smoke, fumata bianca, that's the signal.
The big moment.
Right. And apparently, since 2005, they also ring bells along with the white smoke, just to be absolutely clear, avoid confusion.
Good idea. This year, though, it seemed pretty fast.
It really was. Very swift. The white smoke appeared Thursday afternoon. The conclave only started on Wednesday, so less than 24 hours all told.
Is that unusual? I feel like I've heard stories of them taking ages.
Oh, they can. History's got all sorts. The longest one ever. Back in the 13th century, it dragged on for almost 3 years.
3 years? Wow.
Yeah. But then the shortest, 1503, was like 10 hours. More recently, John Paul II took 2 days, 8 ballots. Benedict XVI, just 2 days, 4 ballots. And Pope Francis, about 24 hours, 5 ballots. So this one was definitely on the quicker side for modern times.
Okay, so once they hit that magic number, that 2/3 plus 1, what happens right then?
The dean of the College of Cardinals goes to the cardinal who got the votes and asks him, essentially, do you accept? If he says, accepto, I accept, in Latin, boom, he's the Pope.
Instantly.
Then he's asked what name he wants to take as Pope. After that, they burn the final ballots for the white smoke, and then comes the big announcement from the balcony.
Habemus Papam.
Habemus Popem. We have a pope. And then the new pope comes out for his first blessing.
And this time, the name announced was Pope Leo XIV, formerly Cardinal Robert Prevost. Let's dive into him. Where's he from?
Robert Francis Prevost, born in Chicago, Illinois, 1955. And yes, this is the big headline. The first U.S.-born pope ever.
It's huge.
It really is. And interestingly, he also holds Peruvian citizenship. He spent many, many years living and working in Peru, grew up Catholic in Dalton, just south of Chicago.
So a foot in both North and South America, really. What about his education, his path in the church?
Well, he started with a math degree, actually, from Villanova.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Then a Master's of Divinity from the Catholic Theological Union back in Chicago. Later, he got a doctorate in canon law in Rome.
Canon law.
He was ordained a priest in 82, then went off to do missionary work in Peru. He ended up running a seminary there in Trujillo. Then, in 2014, he was made apostolic administrator for the Diocese of Chiclayo in Peru and became a bishop the next year.
So a long, deep connection with Peru.
Very much so. Significant leadership experience there, and of course in the U.S. context.
And how did he become a cardinal?
Pope Francis made him a cardinal quite recently, actually September 2023.
Right.
And right before becoming Pope, Cardinal Prevost had a really key job in the Vatican. He was the head, the prefect, of the dicastery for bishops.
What does that involve?
That's the department that oversees selecting and appointing new bishops all over the world. So it gave him this incredible global view of the church's leadership and needs.
Yeah, that's a position with some serious insight. What do we know about his leanings, politically or theologically?
He's generally described as a centrist figure on social issues. You often hear him described as progressive, sort of echoing Pope Francis's focus on outreach, to migrants, the poor, marginalized groups.
Okay.
But on core church doctrine, he seems to hold more, let's say, conservative positions. For instance, he's opposed ordaining women as deacons. So it's a bit of a balance.
Balance.
Yeah.
Which might explain his appeal in the Conclave.
Quite possibly, yeah. Appealing to different groups within the College of Cardinals.
And his personality? What's he like?
Reports describe him as calm, really smart, exceptionally intelligent is a phrase used, and also very compassionate. Someone who knew him from seminary said he's not a showboat.
Interesting. Suggests maybe a quieter style.
Perhaps. Maybe more focused on thoughtful governance rather than grand gestures.
Now, something that stood out to me was his U.S. voting record. He kept voting in U.S. elections.
Yeah, that is quite unusual for someone at that level in the Vatican hierarchy. Because he stayed registered near Chicago, records show he voted in several general elections between 2000 and 2024.
Wow.
And interestingly, he voted in both Democratic and Republican primaries over the years.
So actively engaged, is he?
Insistently engaged, yeah. It suggests a certain, maybe nuanced relationship with the political scene in his home country.
And not just voting, right? There was mention of social media.
That's right. On his X account, Twitter, he had shared some posts critical of the Trump administration's policies, especially on immigration.
Okay.
He even reposted an article once that sort of questioned prioritizing love based only on who's closest to you geographically, hints at a more universal outlook.
Fascinating layers there. Okay, Let's talk about the name, Leo XIV. That name, Leo, it's got history, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Choosing the name is a really significant act. It's like a symbolic second birth as Pope. And Leo, 13 popes before him used that name. It carries a lot of weight.
Right. So are there specific Leos he might be channeling?
Could be. Two big ones often come up. There's Pope Leo I, Leo the Great, way back in the 5th century, known for being a real intellectual, big on theology, and famously persuaded Attila the Hun not to sack Rome.
Wow, okay. So strength, intellect, maybe.
Could be. Suggests maybe a focus on clear teaching, standing firm. Then there's Pope Leo III, much later, late 19th, early 20th century.
What's he known for?
He's remembered for really engaging intelligently with the modern world, trying to bridge tradition and, new social and political challenges. Wrote important stuff on social justice.
So the name Leo could signal a few different things then.
Exactly. Choosing a name often reflects the qualities the new pope hopes to embody, the direction they want to set. It's a signal.
Very different from Pope Francis, who picked a name never used before.
Yeah.
That was all about St. Francis of Assisi.
A very clear statement, yes. A different kind of signal.
So how did people react when the news broke? Pope Leo XIV, an American.
Well, reports from Rome mentioned a lot of excitement, but also, quite a bit of shock. I mean, it breaks such a long tradition. Huge amount of buzz.
I bet. And here in the States, must have been big news.
Massive. You had reactions from major figures pretty quickly. President Trump congratulated him, called it an honor for the U.S., said he looked forward to meeting him. Former President Biden, who is Catholic, of course, he used the Habemus Papam line in his message, offered blessings.
Nice touch.
Former President Obama, also from Chicago, like the new pope, called it a historic day, offered prayers. Even Chicago's mayor, Brandon Johnson, celebrated the hometown connection.
So widespread acknowledgement of the significance.
Definitely. It clearly resonated across the political spectrum and beyond.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, what are the main things to take away about Pope Leo XIV?
I think, first, the speed of the election and the historic nature of the first American pope, that's huge. Second, his really unique background, straddling the U.S. and Peru, giving him this broad global perspective.
Right.
third, this kind of centrist profile, progressive on social outreach, more traditional on doctrine. And finally, the choice of the name Leo, which is loaded with historical resonance and potential clues about his papacy.
It really is a groundbreaking moment. So thinking about his background, the name, the current global situation the church finds itself in, here's something for you to mull over. What unique perspectives, maybe unique challenges too, might define his time as Pope? How could those American and Peruvian experiences really shape his leadership on the world stage?
Yeah, that's the big question going forward, isn't it?
It certainly is. Lots to watch. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.